मीडिया वेव्स टीवी तो खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम दे विच आप सब दा स्वागत है।
Khabran Da Lekha Jokha, October 22nd, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact lawyer Shahid Hanif at Hanif Litigation, 604-626-3144. Updated flu COVID-19 vaccines now available for British Columbians. As the BC prepares for this year's respiratory illness season, the provincial health officer is urging everyone eligible to receive the latest vaccines to help protect themselves and their loved ones. Dr. Bonnie Henry said that fall is the time of the year when the province sees increases in viral respiratory illnesses, including influenza and COVID-19. So it is particularly important to remember healthy habits we can all follow to protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our communities, Henry said. That includes covering your cough, cleaning your hands regularly, staying away from others if you have a cough or a fever, wearing a mask if you have lingering symptoms or need extra protection, and getting the updated influenza and COVID-19 vaccines. By getting immunized for both influenza and COVID-19, we are not only protecting ourselves but also those around us.
सूबे दी सेहत ऑफिसर है जिहड़े उसने ऐलान किया कि इस मौके दे उत्ते हुण कोविड-19 ते इन्फ्लुएंजा दे जिहड़े वैक्सीन दे जिहड़े टीके ने वो पहुंच चुके ने उन्हां दी जरूर वरतों करो। कारण है कि जो ही पतझड़ दी रुੱਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ फ्लू वर्गे सिम्पटम्स ने जिहड़े वो पैदा हुंदे ने तां उन्हां दा फैलाव ज़्यादा वड्डी मात्रा दे विच हुंदा है। सो उस तो बचाव दे लई पुर अमन किया होया जिहड़ा कोविड-19 दा इंजैक्शन ते इन्फ्लुएंजा दे जिहड़े असीं टीके लवाउने आ साल दे विच 1 ਜਾਂ 2 दफ़ा डिपेंड करदा तुहाडी साह नाल समस्यावां जिहड़ियां ने ज़्यादा वध जांदियां ने। सो ਉਹਦੇ एहतियात वरतण दे नाल जिस दे विच हत्थ धोना, सफाई रखना, खंघ दे हालातां दे विच ज़्यादा ख्याल रखण वर्गे एहतियात वरतदे होए इह टीकिਆਂ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰੋ।
Bank of Canada expected to cut interest rates. Will it spur BC's real estate market? The Bank of Canada is set to cut its prime interest rate on Wednesday, but no one's exactly sure how low they'll go. Although rates have been coming down over the past few months, the real estate market in BC hasn't yet seen much of an uptick, at least until October. Numbers in September were flat, but Brandon Augmentson, chief economist with the BC Real Estate Association, says that although final numbers aren't in yet, things have begun to pick up this month. The good news is October sales are really strong, he explained. Midway through the month, we've seen a real jump in home sales across the lower mainland from September number that was 25% below normal all the way back to normal. It could be that impact was just really delayed and we are seeing it all show up in the fall. But it doesn't seem like we are starting to see sales really pick up, he continued. Experts predict the Bank of Canada will slash the rate by another 50 basis points from its current 4.25% to 3.75%. Moving forward, if the BOCs don't cut the rate, Augmentson doesn't believe there will be a lot of extra movement of sales in real estate, as it's already priced into 5-year fixed mortgage rates. Right now, a 5-year fixed rate for someone with more than 20% down payment is around 4.5%, he said. For the first-time home buyers, it's closer to 4.2%, so it's already a lot better than this. I'm not sure that the rate is going to fall much more, but I think in terms of overall confidence in the market, I think half a point cut is going to continue to spur some home buyers to get off the sidelines, and maybe it helps a marginal kind of buyer pass a stress test. I think all in all, it's going to be positive for the market. We should end the year with some real momentum for sure, he explained. Augmentson believes next year will be a more normal year for the real estate market. We've had 2 years where home sales have been 20 to 25% below just average activity, he said. So getting back to average is going to feel like a real surge, but it's just things normalizing as rates come down. We don't expect we are going to get a replay of 2021 or 2016 or something. I just think we are going to have a steadier year with a decent amount of sales activity. But will the increase in activity augments in cautions against any major price increases for the region? One benefit from sluggish sales over this year is that we have seen inventory start to accumulate. And so as sales pick up, I think we can see demand rising without prices accelerating because there's enough supply in the market right now to cushion the impact.
ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਨੂੰ ਬੈਂਕ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੇ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਮੀ ਦੀ ਕਿਆਸ ਕੋਈ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਕਿਤਨੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਪਰ 4.25 ਤੋਂ 4.5% ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਦਰ 'ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਦਾ ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਟੌਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਕੁਝ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰੀਅਲ ਅਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਮਾਰਕੀਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹਿਲਜੁਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਕਰੇਗੀ। ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ 2020 ਜਾਂ 2016 ਵਾਲੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਵਰੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈ ਹੋਈ 20 ਤੋਂ 25% ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਡਾਊਨਫਾਲ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਬੱਬ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਬਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਲੱਗੇਗੀ, ਪਰ ਅਸਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈਵਲ 'ਤੇ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰਕਿਰਿਆ ਰਹੇਗੀ।
Former BC Premier allegedly gunning for Prime Minister's title, says expert. Christy Clark, a former BC Premier, may be ready to make a political comeback after dropping hints at a possible bid to replace Justin Trudeau. A consultant with Summa Strategies says, now you know with Rob Snow that Clark has been dropping hints for some time. I think we knew about a few months ago when she launched a new website that was very sleek. The only reason that would be is because she's gearing up for something. In this case, to run. I think she's not just considering it, but very seriously gunning for the position, said Ellie Blades with Summa Strategies. Blade says Clark could appeal to physically responsible voters with a social confidence. Christy Clark's a very interesting candidate because she does have this record of physical responsibility, which may appeal to some a little bit over right and center voters that might think that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative team might bit too right. However, Blades adds that Clark's record may not play well in some part of the country. She was also heavily focused on resource development, and that could be problematic for a set of voters who have historically chosen sitting prime ministers who have been from that province. So I think there's a bit of an east-west dynamic at play. I think Christy Clark is trying to get in front of that early on, said Blades. In an email statement, Clark says the position of Liberal leader is not going to be available anytime soon, but if that were to change, I would want to be part of the conversation on the future direction of the Liberal Party and of the country.
BC ਦੀ ਸਾਬਕਾ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਰਕ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟਾਈਟਲ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਵੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਨਸ਼ਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ, ਜਨਤਕ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਸਵਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਉੱਠ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਰਕ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੋਚ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਭਰਮਾ ਹੰਗਾਰਾ ਮਿਲ ਸਕੇਗਾ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜਾਂ ਕਿ ਫਿਰ ਈਸਟ ਤੇ ਵੈਸਟ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸੋਚ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵਿਚਾਰਧਾਰਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਟਕਰਾ ਰਹੇਗਾ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਈਸਟ ਵਾਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਤੇ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਦੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਏਰੀਆ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਾਰਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਨਾਲ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਰਕ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ, ਪਰ ਅਗਰ ਮੌਜੂਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਬਣਨਗੇ।
Justin Trudeau says his leadership is not in danger as Liberals brace for revolt. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says his leadership of the Liberal Party is not in danger, even as members of his caucus prepare to confront him Wednesday in the hopes of convincing him to step down. He brushed off those concerns as he headed into the regular Tuesday meeting with cabinet ministers. While members of the cabinet have defended Trudeau staying on as leader, a number of Liberal MPs have signed onto a letter that aims to convince him to step aside before the next election. It's not clear how many members of the Trudeau's team of MPs plan to confront him or exactly what their message will be. So far, Charlottetown MP Sean Casey is the only Liberal to publicly say that he has signed the letter. Immigration Minister Mark Miller says the MP's plan are garbage and the issue is taking time away from the Liberal fight against Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives.
प्रधानमंत्री जस्टिन ट्रूडो होਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਤੌਰ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਾਂ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੁਖੀ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਸਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲਾਂਭੇ ਹੋਣ ਜਾਣ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਐਮਪੀਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚਰਚਾਵਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਛਿੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਸਨ, ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਖੰਡਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਇਰਾਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਬੁੱਧਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਾਕਸ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਇਹ ਸਪਸ਼ਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਿਆ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਜਸਟਿਨ ਟਰੂਡੋ ਹੁਣ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਗੂ ਹਨ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਅਹੁਦਾ ਛੱਡ ਦੇਣ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਰੁਖਸਤੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਅਹੁਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ।
Two plead guilty to Surrey murder of former Air India bombing suspect. Two men charged in the killing of former Air India bombing suspect Ripudaman Singh Malik have pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in a British Columbia court. The courthouse in New Westminster, BC, confirmed the pleas from Tanner Fox and Joyce Lopez in the shooting death of Malik, who was acquitted in 2005 of the bombings that killed 331 people in 1985. Fox and Lopez, who were originally charged with first-degree murder, will next appear in court on October 31st. In a statement, Malik's family say the plea brings mixed emotions as nothing will erase the pain that we have gone through. The statement also said that while the family is grateful that Fox and Lopez were brought to justice, they are urging the two men to cooperate with police in bringing those that hired you to justice. Malik, 75, was shot dead in his vehicle outside his business in Surrey, BC on July 14th of 2022. Police said before charging Fox and Lopez that people in a vehicle waited hours for Malik before the shooting at 9:30 a.m. that day. Malik's son, Jasprit Singh Malik, has said family members had never heard of Fox or Lopez and he did not know why anyone would kill his father. In the latest statement, the Malik family called on killing and assassination without identifying any groups that they believe to be involved. Tanner Fox and Joyce Lopez were hired to commit this murder, the statement says, until the parties responsible for hiring them and directing this assassination are brought to justice. The work remains incomplete. To Tanner Fox and Joyce Lopez, we say you have taken a good first step in taking responsibility for your actions. Now take the next step and cooperate with the RCMP in bringing those that hired you to justice. Malik and a co-accused were found not guilty of murder and conspiracy in the 1985 Air India bombing, when one bomb on a passenger jet operated by the airline crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Ireland, killing all 329 passengers and crew. Roughly 1 hour later, a bomb destined for another Air India plane exploded prematurely at the airport in Japan, killing 2 baggage handlers. Earlier this month, RCMP Commissioner Mike Duhim said the force had launched a special unit to investigate multiple cases of extortion and violence, including murders linked to agents of the Indian government. Duhim said the RCMP were speaking out due to what it deemed as a serious threat to public safety. Canada expelled 6 Indian diplomats who police have named as persons of interest in the cases. They were not specific about which murders may be involved in the allegations. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told Parliament last year that there was credible intelligence linking India's government to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a temple leader shot while in his truck in the parking lot of the Gurdwara in Surrey, BC. 4 men have been charged in the murder. Police are alleging that diplomats used their position to collect information on Canadians within the Khalistan movement, an effort to create a separate homeland for Sikhs in India's Punjab. Mounties alleged the diplomats passed the information on to criminal gangs who targeted individuals directly, allegations that India has denied.
14 ਜੁਲਾਈ 2022 ਨੂੰ ਰਿਪੂ ਦਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਲਕ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਤਲ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰ 2 ਵਿਅਕਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਪਲੀਡ ਗਿਲਟੀ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਦਰਜੇ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚਾਰਜਸ ਨੇ ਕਤਲ ਦੇ ਚਾਰਜਸ ਲਗਾਏ ਗਏ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤੰਦਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਲਝਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਤੰਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਰਿਪੂ ਦਮਨ ਸਿੰਘ ਮਲਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਂ 에ਅਰ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਦੇ ਬੰਬ ਵਾਲੇ ਹਾਦਸੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ जुड़िया होया है। और इस दे कारण उन्होंने परिवार ने भी ये गल कही है कि उन्होंने मारना क्यों मारिया, किसने मारिया, उसकी जिहड़ी पड़ताल जरूर होनी चाहिए है। मारन वालियां बारे बड़े भावें बेशक स्पष्ट हो गया है, पर यह पहाड़े के जिहड़े कातल सन उन्होंने किस ने हायर किया सी, इस दे बारे भी तफ्तीश है जिहड़ी जारी रहनी चाहिए है। परिवार ने जिहड़े कातल ने उन्हों का धन्नवाद किया कि धन्नवाद तुसीं अपने आप नूं पुलिस के हवाले कर दिता, पर हुण नाल दी नाल अगला जिहड़ा बेहतर काम आ वो भी करो, दसो कि तुहानूं किसने हायर किया सी।
Thousands of international students miss fall semester amid uncertainty, visa delays. Thousands of international students expected to study at 3 Ontario colleges are missing the fall semester after Ottawa announced it would further tighten Canada's study permit system. Some schools officials are attributing the dramatic enrollment decline to a chilling effect created by the federal government's policy and to visa delays that have resulted from a stricter approach. Glenn Volek-Barat, the president of St. Lawrence College in Kingston, Ontario, said his college was expecting 1,600 new international students this fall, but only 775 are enrolled in courses. This is not normal, said Volek-Barat, who confirmed many of the students had trouble getting their visas on time, and the college has approved deferral requests for about 1/3 of the students. This is a direct result of some of the federal policy decisions that we've seen taken place. Ottawa announced in January it would cap international study permits in 2024. Last month, Immigration Minister Mark Miller announced he would lower the cap by another 10%, meaning some 300,000 fewer permits would be issued over the next few years. Canada plans a limit of 437,000 study permits in 2025 and 2026. Volbrek said the policy means Canada's brand as an education destination has taken a hit. Essentially, it's Canada saying we are closed for business, he said. Michael McDonald, Director of Government Relations and Policy for Colleges and Institutes Canada, said colleges have expressed deep concern about a drop in international student enrollments this fall. We are expecting sizable declines across our memberships, he said. McDonald said he thinks the federal changes have brought uncertainty both for schools which rely heavily on international students, tuition fees, and for potential students who are deciding whether to come to Canada to continue their studies. We think that kind of uncertainty further depresses enrollments and puts into question a lot of the recruitment efforts, he said. Ottawa insists a cap on international students is necessary to bring stability to the country's ballooning population for temporary residents. The annual growth in the number of international students couldn't be sustained while ensuring students receive the support they need, said Michelle Corbett, an Immigration Department spokesperson. International students are not responsible for the challenges that communities are facing, but the recent skyrocketing growth of this population puts significant pressure on services. Corbett said foreign students are encouraged to apply for visa as soon as they get a letter of acceptance from learning institutions to avoid delays. Mohawk College, which has several campuses in different Ontario cities, welcomed close to 1,500 students from other countries this fall, about 38% fewer than last year, said Katie Burrows, its vice president for international students. This is significant and it's completely out of the norm, she said. She added there is a financial hit that comes from not seeing the expected fees come in this year. We can manage it. Going forward, it's going to be more difficult, she said. The college just opened a new 300-bed student residence in downtown Hamilton in anticipation of welcoming more international students, Burrows said, but only 60 students are living there. She attributed the decrease of several factors, including concerns foreign students have about their future in Canada because of government policy. Another Another of the federal changes would affect the availability of work permits for college graduates, which were widely available in the past but will now be restricted to areas that have labor market shortages in Canada. The change will affect students who apply in permits after November 1st. Visa delays also factor in, said Burrows. That has seemingly been the case at the Conestoga College too, which had 1,400 international students deferred their fall programs to the winter semester. These deferrals may be the result of visa delays, said Brenda Bereski, the executive director of corporate communications at the college. Brian Paul Walsh, an immigration consultant at Northern Education Consultants, agreed with the school officials that there are too many factors at play: foreign students rethinking their destination and significant visa delays. Welsh said Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada had previously come under fire for not reviewing visa applications as careful as it should have. That has changed recently, and now every application is being reviewed quite thoroughly to ensure that they meet the criteria before they give them a successful decision, he said. Another layer of bureaucracy could be adding to the time it takes, he said. Ottawa announced in January it would require provinces to issue attestation letters for international students, without which students couldn't apply for visa. Still, Wells said the larger issue may be the federal government's policy direction. Students may be holding back while they wait and see whether the possibility of becoming a permanent resident after their studies is still in the cards, he said. The potential benefits might not outweigh what they know it would actually cost, he said.
ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜੇ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਨਸ਼ਰ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਇੰਸਟੀਚਿਊਟਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਈਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਇਮੀਗ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਪਾਲਿਸੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਈ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤਬਦੀਲੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਅਸਰ ਅੰਦਾਜ਼ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਰਹੇ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੱਸੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਨਾਲੋਂ, और फैडरल सरकार की पॉलिसी के आई हुई तब्दीली के कारण 35% की कटौती तो बाद 10% होर की कटौती भी जाहिर ते नशर कर दी गई सी, जिस दे कारण जिहड़े इंस्टीट्यूट्स ने उन्होंने अपना पक्ष दसदे हुए कहा कि इंटरनैशनल स्टूडेंट्स की जिहड़ी एनरोलमेंट है उस दे विच वड्डी पद्धर दे उत्ते कमी आई है, जिहड़ी कि उन्हां दे मायक जिहड़ा पक्ष है उस दे उत्ते असर अंदाज होएगी। और उधरों आम पब्लिक के नाल नाल फैडरल सरकार की फीडबैक के मुताबिक ये सी कि तेरी गिनती के आए हुए इंटरनैशनल स्टूडेंट्स के कारण जी सर्विसिज वाला खेतर है वो बड़ी बुरी तरह प्रभावित सी। सो अंतरराष्ट्रीय विद्यार्थियों की जी एनरोलमेंट के कमी और वीज़ा एप्लीकेशन के काफ़ी ज़्यादा लंबेरा समा और अनसरटेनिटी है जोड़े कहते वड्डे पार्ट अदा कर रहे हैं कि हुण ज़्यादातर जोड़े इंटरनैशनल स्टूडेंट्स ने जे वो असुरक्षित महसूस करते हैं तो अगाऊ समय एडमिशन लैण के लिए भी बहुते ज़्यादा उत्साहित नहीं हो रहे।
What's holding up final results for the BC elections? With record-breaking advance voting and storm of an election day behind the province, Elections BC says at least 2 recounts and a final count still stand in the way of official results. Elections BC says the initial count concluded Saturday night, but it will take the non-partisan office of the legislature at least another week before a final count ends. On election night, Elections BC says some results were delayed as 3 districts did not finish reporting until Sunday. One district, North Coast Haida Gawai, was delayed when a supervisory voting officer had a medical emergency and was in hospital during initial count, leading to a delay of 1 tabulator there. Communications Director Andrew Watson says there are still several factors to overcome before any party is declared the winner. Some ballots do not need to go through screening before being counted to ensure that the voter that cast that ballot was eligible to vote and that they only voted once, said Watson, adding that the screening mostly applies to mail-in ballots received after the close of advance voting. He says those will be added to the final count, which will take place between October 26 and 28. So far, recounts are required for 2 electoral districts where the difference between the leading candidates was 100 votes or fewer. In the Juan de Fuca Malahat riding on Vancouver Island, BC NDP candidate Dana Lajunese has beat out BC Conservatives candidate Marina Sapozinkov by just 20 votes according to the current count. In the Surrey City Centre riding, BC NDP candidate Amna Shah leads with 95 votes over BC Conservatives candidate Zishan Wala. Even with recounts and the final count out of the way, Watson said the wait could still continue. He says candidates can request a judicial recount based on certain criteria like evidence that votes were accepted or rejected improperly. Once final count's done, then we may also have an automatic judicial recount if the difference between the top two candidates is less than 1/500th of the total ballots considered in that district. But meeting that threshold is pretty unlikely in the Coquitlam Mountains riding. For instance, the two candidates are currently separated by 259 votes. 1/500th of the total 20,967 ballots in that district would be approximately 42 votes, so the riding doesn't qualify. Watson says there are certain similarities to the 2017 provincial election, with a lot of attention given to the final count. Regardless of the election, it's been a long-standing part of the process in BC elections for a long time. So we are continuing to do that per the provisions of the legislation that governs our work. He says early estimates show that 57% of the registered voters turned out this year compared to the 54% in 2020. We also saw the most ballots overcast in the BC election, with just over 2 million beating the previous record, around 1.9 million that was set in the 2017 BC election. But current count, the BC NDP hold 46 seats, the BC Conservatives hold 45, and the BC Green Party holds 2.
BC ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਹਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਸੂਈ ਲਟਕੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਲੀ ਨਾਈਟ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਦੋਂ ਹੀ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਿਆ। ਦੋਵੇਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਆਪਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਵੀਂ ਟੱਕਰ ਹੈ। ਅੰਤ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ NDP ਦੀਆਂ 46 ਸੀਟਾਂ ਤੇ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਦੀਆਂ 45 ਸੀਟਾਂ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ 2 ਸੀਟਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਪਰ 2 ਸੀਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ 100 ਨੰਬਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ 100 ਨੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਹੈ। ਤਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ 100 ਵੋਟਾਂ ਦਾ 100 ਵੋਟਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਘੱਟ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਦਾ ਫਰਕ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਨੇ ਹਜੇ BC ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਿਕਲੇ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਹੱਥਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਔਰ ਮੇਲ ਇਨ ਬੈਲਟਸ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਨੇ ਉਹ 26 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 28 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਦੇ ਦਰਮਿਆਨੇ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੱਸੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ।
इसी के साथ हमें दीजिएगा इजाजत। खबरों द लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से until next time, goodbye and be safe.